I am not born with that type of talent, but one thing I can say is, like, if you're gonna attempt something, do it. And if you fail, do it again. And if you keep failing, keep doing it again. You know, sometimes you could fail 1,000 times on something and get it right one time. But that one time could be what you need to push yourself forward.
Welcome to this week's Escape Your Limits podcast. Our guest today is a high-level competitive wrestler, winner of 2 sports Emmys, and holds a world record for walking on his hands. Despite his tough upbringing in the foster care system and facing mental and physical challenges, he is still aiming to compete in 2 separate sports in the next Olympics. What makes him truly inspiring is that he's had to work significantly harder to achieve these goals than most of us. He was born with Caudal Regression Syndrome, which has meant he has never had any legs. Today he shares his drive and passion for life, his mindset to persevere, and he explains how he inspires people to escape their limits. So please welcome Mr. Zion Clark to this week's Escape Your Limits podcast. So I'm about to go a few rounds with Mr. Zion Clark. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me on here, man.
You're going to go easy on me, are you?
Not at all. I'm kidding.
So I read this statement, which I thought was really good on your website, which says you do not need legs to leave a footprint on the earth. What does the footprint mean for you?
It's not what it means, it's what it stands for. You know, just leaving a mark, no matter whether you have feet or you don't have feet, leaving an imprint, leaving a lasting impact on the population is what's the best thing we can do, like for a good reason. Right.
And I know from what I've read, you know, your sort of earlier days were pretty tough by most people's standards. Was there a time in your life when you had that sort of, you know, something switched and you wanted to make an impact? Because I understood you're also sort of a little bit of a naughty boy as well in some of your younger years. So were those 2 things fighting for who was going to sort of rise on top?
I mean, I feel like I feel like I've never really changed. It's just I've brought in what I wanted to do. You know what I mean? But like there were definitely, I never really was like from the beginning like, oh, I'm gonna be an inspiration. But like, you know, the harder I worked at what my craft was, and the harder that I like really pushed myself, it's just to see more people were being inspired. So why not keep working hard at what you're doing and just inspire people on the way? You know, the most true inspiration is a person that can inspire without speaking to them.
Right. And with I'll sort of go back a little bit of your history for those who don't know it. So when you were a young kid, you were beaten up and not given food and stuff like that. So you'd had, from what I understand, a pretty tough upbringing. Did that, through those times, were you continuously a fairly positive person despite what was happening, or were there stages in your upbringing where that sort of got on top and you maybe took a slightly different path to what you're on today?
Well, it's more of you know, like everything played a part. You know what I mean? So when it comes to all the, like there were good times, there were bad times, and you know, sometimes there were a lot more bad times, you know, but as you get older, you gotta either learn to just move with it, or you're gonna fold, you know, and that's just how it kind of went for me. And as I got older, you know, I was really more focused on my sports, as I am now, and I just started seeing more success. So then I was like, okay, this is something I can put my focus more to. And then everything kind of worked out for it, so.
Yeah. So what was school like?
School was all right. You know, I had my friends. I got bullied a little bit, but it wasn't nothing. You know, you wanted to be in my face, I'd be back in yours. And it was, that's always kind of how it's been.
So you was always someone that could probably stand up for yourself, would you say?
For the most part, yeah. Especially once I got to high school.
Right. So when did you realize that because I understood like wrestling was a big part of what you did, and I don't know whether this is right, but it said that it was about 2 years old when you got into it.
No. I was about 6 years old when I got into wrestling. So it's been quite a while still, but I started when I was really young, thought it was fun, and over the last 18 years, I've been working hard at it.
Now, it's wrestling. Well, for people some people are listening on audio, and you know, maybe it would be helpful to. So you had something called, was it called Caudal Regression Syndrome?
Yeah, that's what I have. It's called a Caudal Regression Syndrome.
And what does that mean for people who don't know?
It can mean a lot of things. It can mean you have just different deformities or limbs or parts missing, I guess. Like your spine, or for me it was just my legs. But you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, and so wrestling, I suppose, would, and I know I did look at somebody who I believe has been one of your mentors, who is also an amazing athlete. But in general, wrestling isn't something that I suppose you would think of, because you're probably in a slightly different position to most of the people you're going up against. Did that ever cross your mind, or did you just have a passion for wrestling? And
the thing about me, I just didn't care. You know what I mean? I was having a fun time, and as it went on, I was learning more and more. So I just had a good time because I like the sport. You gotta be a special type of person just to wrestle in general. You know, wrestling isn't like, oh, I'm going to join wrestling. No, once you start going against somebody that's really good, you can actually get hurt. You know what I mean? I've seen people get dropped on their neck and they don't get up for a second, and the other guy scored points because of it. 5-point move. You know, so it's like wrestling gets real, and you gotta if you're gonna really dive deep into it, you gotta really just immerse yourself into it. So that's what I did.
No, you didn't. You weren't very good when you started, was you?
I was terrible. But after quite a while, after losing over and over again, I slowly was piecing together what I could do. You know what I mean? It was more of a trial and error. And then at one point, I just went every day for months on end, just seeing what works, what doesn't work, Monday through Sunday. Just hitting the mat every day, wrestling with the dummy, wrestling with my friends, wrestling with other people, other coaches. I had the pleasure of having private work with Nate Carr. He wrestled in games back in the 80s. Kind of lived 3 houses down from me, so it was really, really convenient. You know, but I was definitely blessed to have the people around me to really help me tune in the goal I wanted to get to. You know. So
you chose a pretty tough sport, right? For anybody, even sort of like someone who's built like you would imagine a wrestler. It's a tough sport. And you didn't start off very successful, because I'm having these children, this is why I wanted to find out, I'm having these conversations with my children, they're doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So you wasn't very good at it, and yet you decided that you could be good at it. And where most people after a while, it's like, I'm getting beaten up, this hurts, you know, how much am I going to do? Maybe I should get into drumming, which you also do, from what I understand. What was in your mind to say, well, sorry, I am actually going to be really good at this?
It wasn't that I was deciding I'm going to be good. I was just I don't want to lose anymore. That's honestly what was going through my head. I was kind of getting tired of losing. But, you know, once you've lost almost 200 times, I was over 200 times.
You lost over 200 times?
Yeah, I think. I lost for 10 years straight.
10 years?
I didn't start winning until I was 18. And then I kind of started beating everybody.
Did anyone sort of say to you, look, maybe this isn't your sport?
No. I mean, if you did, I didn't hear you. And I know there are people that were. I would hear about it. It's just it was one of those things where if somebody says that you can't do something, you got to just ignore it. Let it pass through one ear, out the other. And that's what I did.
Introducing the next big thing in functional training, the Escape Barrow. a revolutionary training tool that combines a loaded farmer's carry with a sled push to develop hip, grip, and core strength. Developed in partnership with Pete Holman, inventor of the TRX Rip Trainer and Nautilus Glute Drive, the Escape Barrow can be rolled, pushed, dragged, and carried. The Escape Barrow packs a punch with an impressive load capacity of 440 pounds, and with a two-stage galvanized paint covering process, it's also ideal for outdoor use. So head over to escapefitness.com/barrow. That's escapefitness.com/barrow to find out more. Enjoy the rest of this episode. I'm trying to find the statement, but there was a kind of statement. Yeah, you said something along the lines of about following the process, and I was sort of trust the process. And I was curious. So were you in your wrestling? Did you was that first 10 years like part of the process that you had pictured, and it's like, okay, there's going to come this point where some of these things are going to come together. Like, it sounds like you're explaining it to me like that, or was it just a really good coach that was like, you're a step closer to where you need to be, and that was what, assisted, your success?
It was definitely it was a collective group effort. And my coaches, my teammates, the friends I made throughout the wrestling world, they definitely played a part into me developing as a wrestler, developing the skill to have what I need to be good at wrestling. A lot of my friends growing up, they were all like those guys that were ranked top in the state, top in the country, and I was the worst person worst person on the team. You know what I mean? So they would like take the time to go wrestle with me. We'd have fun, We'd shit talk each other, just seeing who could get after it. And as we got older, I started to catch up, and then that's when things got really fun. And once we were finally like on par with each other, we would just get down and we would battle it out, and that collectively got all of us better at the same time.
Right. Do you remember your first win?
Yeah. My first win, I pinned this dude in like 17 seconds. I almost broke the school record. It was ridiculous.
How did that feel?
That felt good, and then I lost the rest of the tournament. Yeah, I won one win and then kept losing, and that was my junior year. One win at 17. And I won one match, kept myself alive, and then I lost. Simple as that. Then the next year come around, I won the same tournament. I win that tournament. Win the same tournament. Then I won all the other tournaments. Took second at a big tournament in Ohio. Took third at a really big tournament in Ohio. It was just really like the things I was like the matches and the places I would find myself at on the mat once I started to really excel in the sport. Like, you step out on the mat, there's probably somebody that's ranked top in the country right in front of you. You wouldn't even know it. And the thing about me, I was so oblivious to who I had to wrestle. I had beat some of these top guys, and I didn't know until after the match. I remember at this one tournament, it was the guy. He was a returning state champion, and my shoulder had just got dislocated, got popped back in. And I was sure, I ended up having to have surgery because I tore my shoulder. But at the moment, there's all this adrenaline. My coach picks me up and smacks me a little bit, tells me you go out there, you win, because he had just taken me down in overtime after my defense kind of shut down when my shoulder went out, and he scored a point and took it in overtime. So then we go to the center of the mat. And I'm just limping back to the mat, It was real, I was in serious pain, my man. But I'm sitting right there in front of him, and then the ref blows a whistle, and he tries to hit this move called the flying squirrels, where you kind of jump and you twist your body and you catch an underhook into a half Nelson, and then it kind of forces their body to turn. So we try to do that, and he almost got it, but I ended up catching his leg. And then once I caught him, I was able to get full control, and I won in overtime. But then I find out it's big big ranked top dude, and I was like, cool. And I sat down and requested ice for my shoulder. You know, I just didn't care. You know, like it was like I remember the match, but I don't care about the stats. You know, like you know what I mean? Like I remember like the experience will ever beat whatever ranking somebody has.
Did you or your opponents ever know that you were going to fight each other before some of these competitions?
Yeah, we all have to weigh in. Everybody at the same weight class has to weigh in at the same time, so nobody can cheat.
Right.
It's like that for every fighting sport. Everybody has to weigh in at the same time.
And how did you like when you started to get better? Like how was the attitude between you and your opponents? You know,
they was trying to kick my head in, dude. Like after a while, it was like, okay, I have to go against this dude. If I don't actually be careful, he's gonna mess me up. So then that made the match even more like it made it more urgent to see who was gonna score first. Because this guy, like when I was wrestling at Kent State, I remember I was wrestling against, what was that school? I was wrestling against some D2 school, Lackawanna. I remember I was wrestling I jumped up a weight class, so I was wrestling their 133 pounder. And this guy was this cocky dude. And he straight up was like coming at me crazy. I took him down first, and then he took me down, and I took him down again. And then he's thinking the time's about to go. He's thinking I'm going to just walk out of bounds with him. No, I go and damn near blow his knees out, you know, and he got upset about it. So then the next round, the third round, he goes up to me. He goes, snap my head down really hard. So I get out the way. So then I snap his head down as hard as I can. You know, like that's the type of intensity. Like when you get to a high level of wrestling or just MMA in general, that's what it's like. Everything's a strong blow. People think like, oh, it's wrestling. It's not gonna, like, can't be that hard. No. You ever thrown a grown man? No. You ever picked a whole other man up and drop him on their head? It's hard to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, if you train for it, you can do it.
All right.
But it takes a certain type of training that not everybody can handle.
Yeah. I heard that the rules were exactly the same. There was one slight modification, I believe, at was it Coach Donahue, is that his name?
Yeah, they changed one rule my senior year. I went neutral all rounds. But then after that, once I went back to college, it was normal. So like it was, I don't know. I think that was kind of pointless. If I'm gonna have my honest opinion, I thought it was extremely pointless.
Did you ever have any, like, was there any sort of politics, like you mentioned this rule thing, and again, I don't want to go talk about anything that you're not comfortable with doing, but was there any things where other people wanted to change some rules, whether it's weight classes or anything like that you ever had to?
No. Nobody had anything to say about that. I was always under the weight that I needed to be at anyways. So like, what are you gonna do? You know what I mean? So like, just shut up and let me wrestle.
So your coach was very proud of working with him, and he sounded as though he had quite an impact. What do you think made him?
I met that man and his family when I was like 6 years old. Him and his family are the ones that got me into wrestling.
Really?
Like his twin brother handed me the flyer for wrestling. You know, it's crazy. And then his son is like one of my best friends that I've been wrestling with since I was 6 years old. And we all got coached under his dad, you know, so.
What made him a great coach?
I mean, he's a very successful wrestler. He's made multiple world team appearances. He's wrestled at the national championships. He's placed at the national championships multiple times. He just won the U.S. Open like a year and a half ago at 52 years old. Beat current professional level wrestlers and like dominated this whole tournament. Made it look easy. That's my coach, you know? Like out of Massillon, Ohio. But he's a different type of wrestler in general. Like the way he taught this man was so strong. You know why my grip's strong? It's because he made my grip strong. You know? The way that I hit certain moves is the exact same way that he does because he's the one that taught me how to wrestle.
How do you think his style of coaching with you, sort of impacted your success then? Like, did he work on things in a particular way? Because reading some of his comments, he said you as one of the students he was most proud of coaching, and it sounds as though he's coached some great people as well. I'm not saying you're not great.
He's coached state champs, he's coached national champs, he's coached current U.S. world team members. My girl Lauren Louise, she's on the women's teams, U.S. women's team for wrestling currently. So he's coached a lot of great wrestlers. My boy Ivan McClay, national champion for Notre Dame College, and first state champ of Massillon, my high school. All under Coach Donnie. He's up until he left Massillon, he had been coaching for 20 years, 22 years. So he had been the head coach of that program a very long time, and he built it up from nothing. And when we all came through, our group, my team, my senior year, our high school team, practically reset most of the records for our wrestling team, my junior and senior year. Just on I don't know what, it might have been the water or something, but that was an epic year for everybody on our team, not just me. And
what do you think was that dynamic? I guess everybody likes to create these scenarios, but do you think it was there some sort of relationship with your teammates and some sort of mindset that you were and I'm sure you had a key part in sort of elevating the way people believe in it, but do you think there was some sort of mindset that just the magic kind of came together and you had great people with a great mindset and a great team? How would you sort of describe that situation? Because it's obviously quite a unique moment for many of you.
Yeah, it's a different feeling. You can't really describe it in words. When you're with your boys, it's the same feeling of when I've been from high school to college to even now with my teammates. When we go down to when my boys have a fight, my guys, we get hyped for each other. And in college, I had this. I'm not gonna repeat it, but I had this really stupid call. I would go to my co-captain. And if we have Austin, if you ever see this, you know what I'm talking about. But we had definitely had a good synergy.
I hear you're also quite into mantras and sort of what do they call them?
Not necessarily, but I do have no excuses on my back, and that is important to me.
Right.
It's just a way to live a little bit, and
affirmations.
Just be accountable for your shit and what you do. At the end of the day, when you can make your life better, don't depend on somebody else for your own happiness.
How do you feel about because maybe you're pretty unique. I'm not like this, but you get these doubts coming into your mind. I know, as I've talked about my children, when they're going out, their stuff's running through their brains and they're questioning, are they ready, and this sort of stuff. Do you ever get that nerves, and is there anything that you do to overcome that sort of negative talk that I guess many of us have? Do you have that, and if so, how do you get over it?
If I get any negative thoughts, I don't know, I go work out. So. But you got to train your mind not to have it. That's a natural thing, but we have more control over our mind and our own thoughts than we think. And the thing I can play wrestling into this is because wrestling has a lot to do with mental training. It's not just getting your body to the top shape and learning some moves. You could be in the top shape, know all your moves, and have no energy left, even if you've trained every day for this match, just because the other guy's just as good as you or better. You get then at that point when you have that doubt, am I going to lose or am I going to win? What's going to happen? that's when you gotta just say, you know what, you gotta look, you just say F it, you know. So I just empty the tank then. You know, the other day I had a conversation with my teammate. We were at practice. Now this is yesterday. Yesterday at practice. I was getting towards the end of practice. My homie was like, oh, I'm gassed. And we had one more round left to go before practice was over. And he's like, I'm gassed. I said, look, me too. You know, I was dead. Like, Coach be putting us through it. That was probably the fourth last go that he said. You know, like the fourth one more. So he's like, man. And I was like, all right, come on, get up. I said, get your ass up, bro. Like, we gonna keep this going. We were grappling, so we were doing strictly jiu-jitsu and ground and pound. So I was like, come on, bro. So then he got up, and then I started pushing the issue because my natural instinct is push the issue. And you can tell when somebody shuts down a little bit. So as I could see it, I would be like, come on, like push. And I was like, you're not tapping, you're not folding. You know, as teammates, we gotta lift each other up. And then that, like, almost like you could see it activating them. Just like that last bit of like raw strength you had left in, come out to try to get the job done. You know, and that's what we're here to do. We're here to push each other. Like, there are other teammates in our gym that are honestly way better than me. And they really, sometimes for me to be able to take them down, like get a real like effort and like dominate real quick, it might not happen all the time, but when I'm pushed to that limit is where I need to either get the job done or I'm actually gonna get beat up. You gotta, it's when you're in the cage, there's no option of running. You know what I mean? So you gotta just like throw yourself into it and just give it whatever you've got, because if you're gonna run out of energy, you might as well run out doing the thing you like to do, you know, instead of covering up and cowering.
So is your mind got to be the last thing that, after everything's gone, is your mind got to be the thing that's still prepared to fight?
Oh yeah, if my arms don't want to move, I'm still like, move, and then they move. And sometimes you gotta let out some sound, and like you gotta really just, like that's when the mental comes in. I'm focusing on your breathing and all your breath work as you're throwing your punches, as you're setting up shots and takedowns. You know, it's really like, it's a mental game. The whole world of MMA is a mental game.
Have you is that something that you feel you've worked on and got better over time?
Oh, absolutely. My jiu-jitsu in the last 2 years, I used to be real sporadic, and that's why I would get submitted all the time.
What do you mean by sporadic?
Too much energy, be thinking too fast, trying to move too fast. Because wrestling, I was always putting pressure. And that was working for me. But then when you start mixing up throwing punches and like submissions and wrestling and all the other things in boxing that go into, and like being an MMA fighter, you gotta slow down a little bit. And that's what you would think that's like a weird thing to say, but you look at the best fighters, they're calm. I wasn't very calm, so I was still getting beat up. And in the last year, I've been able to like calm myself. When I'm in dangerous positions, I'm not getting submitted because I know how to relax my body, effectively think what's gonna work to loosen up the grip. Whether I gotta throw a strike, whether I gotta reposition, whether I gotta turn myself. You know, there's so many different options, but like in those moments, it's technically fast thinking, but while you're thinking fast, be calm. You feel?
Yeah. How do you train yourself to do that though? Do you have to like visualize
things? You get
things?
punched in the face so many times, you're gonna either learn how to protect yourself, or you're gonna keep getting punched in the face.
Well, yeah, there's one way of doing it.
That's honestly, man, like being in my gym, if you don't already know how to fight, you won't be in there very long. I'm just saying, like the type of guys we have in there, we have world-class fighters we all train on the same team. And like some fight in UFC, some fight in Bellator, but like we're all one team.
And so what you're saying then is that sort of like mental development and strength comes from actually just doing it.
Yeah.
There's
Because
nothing
like
else.
you gotta learn how to make that the normal. Right. Most people aren't used to fighting like that. Most people like really aren't. And to be able to read somebody's punches, get out the way, and throw your own punch back, and just like right back at them quickly, following into like a shot or something. It's gonna be like it's like quick motion, but you have to be extremely alert, and like you gotta be able to pay close attention to absolutely everything.
You've talked to me earlier about a situation that you're going to go into, which is probably the first time you've ever done it. You know, is there ever any doubt in that moment? Like whether it's, and I'm not just talking about combat, but in life, you know, maybe there's business opportunities and things that you've never done for the first time. Does anything ever come in, or are you just like a bit of a machine?
I mean, I like a challenge, man. Like my whole life has been challenges, and I've learned how to adapt and progress. So.
What do you say to someone then that isn't like you, that does have that's maybe stopping them from probably being, you know, because most people have given up maybe 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Like you did 10 years before you even won. You know, that's kind of insane. Most people don't stick with anything for that long. So you had something in you where most people would have probably like beat themselves up and taught themselves out a bit. So how can you help someone, or do you think you're just born with that type of talent?
I am not born with that type of talent, but one thing I can say is like if you're gonna attempt something, do it, and if you fail, do it again, and if you keep failing, keep doing it again. You know, sometimes you could fail 1,000 times on something and get it right one time. But that one time could be what you need to push yourself forward. You know, like it's a weird way to say it, but I won one time and I won one match, and then the next year, I won 35 matches and got into college. You know, so it's like one, you gotta keep believing in yourself to do it, but you gotta keep actually attempting to achieve those goals. And sometimes you might not be able to like go all in, but take small steps on developing what you want to do. Wrestling, it wasn't like one day I was doing terrible, and the next day I was hitting these top level moves. No, to learn those things, I drilled them 1,000 times or more.
How do you know when to or if to stop, or is it a case of, because did you retire from your wrestling?
No, I'm getting ready to get back in the competition.
Oh, okay. So you're still there.
Yeah.
So is it in your mind? Is there ever any things where you say, okay, I've done with that, or you just?
I mean, I'm only 24. I'm actually about to get into the height of everything. That's why like these other things are happening. I've like upgraded and leveled up again. With my skill of athleticism and just the progression of my sports and what I do, my professional track and field. So like everything's coming together how I want it to right now.
So you did the Olympics, and you.
I did not get into the Olympics.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought you did.
I missed it by like 0.45, like 0.57 seconds.
So did you try and qualify then for two? Was it like did you try and do wrestling and some kind of sprint or something? Was that correct?
No,
in Tokyo.
Track and field.
Track and field.
Yeah, I've been a professional track and field athlete since I was 18 years old.
Right.
I started by winning 2 state titles, being a 4-time placer. And then I became a junior national champ, and then I became a multiple-time national champ, and then I took second at the World Trials. So then I raced for Team USA in Canada, in Ottawa, on the 4th of July. We beat Team Canada, which was a great feeling. I've been racing ever since.
So what was the Olympic story? I may have sort of misread that. So.
Oh no, it's still something I'm striving for right now.
Right. And how close did you get to...
I got pretty close this past time.
Right.
So then I've rewired my training working with different people, and now I've gotten even faster and more agile and more, more technical with what I'm doing.
And was the goal at some point to try and compete in both track and wrestling?
Yeah, why not?
It was. How do you train for that? Are they very different kind of, like,
yeah,
my guess
but they're
is
both one of those extreme sports that require a big lung capacity. So track and field, if I'm training both at the same time, my body's just in a ridiculous shape. You know, and it's honestly, why not if you feel good?
So what's the next goal as it relates to your track and field endeavors?
I would say it would be the World Championships this next year, and then after that, Paris.
Right.
Yes, sir.
And what kind of training are you doing then for both of those? Like, what's your? Are you doing it yourself? Have you got coaches?
I got people to work with, like up around UCLA, down in San Diego, the Chula Vista Olympic Training Center. Like I said, I've been a pro since I was 18, so I have my people and assets that I use to make sure my training happens. Just like how I have all my connections in the fight world to make sure my training, my wrestling, everything stays at where I need it to be, or then some.
Right. How do you go about choosing the right sort of mentors when you're going into areas that probably...
I just look at who's the best in that area. If I need to work on conditioning, I look for somebody that has that's on Team USA. The things that I do, like for track and field especially, most of my coaches are Team USA coaches. You know, so it's more of a, I don't necessarily choose them, but those are the people that help me. Like, for instance, I'm the world's fastest man on two hands, and the person that trained me for that was multiple-time Olympic gold medalist Butch Reynolds.
In what sport was he?
I was just training to move faster on my hands, but he won the 400 meter like 4 times for the year.
Sprinting?
Yeah.
On 2 feet?
He's an Olympic gold medalist. You can look him up, Butch Reynolds.
Right.
He's a legend.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he helped me to up in my hand speed.
So how do you apply that to like is there a lot of similarities between like being the fastest man on your legs and fastest man on your 2 hands?
I mean, I'm pretty confident I can run faster than most people on their legs. Because currently, when I set the record, it was only at 9.7 miles per hour. But then I've been training lately, and I just hit a new top speed last week of 13.7. And then I just raised my vertical from 32 inches to 36 inches. So I'm definitely seeing progress right now. So I'm gonna reattempt to break a lot of these records and set new records for myself to be a more tuned in athlete for the sports I'm competing in.
I know recovery is important, but with you putting, I suppose, so much on shoulders and arms, do you do anything that keeps you, because I suppose the last thing you want to do is get an injury either when you're doing some of those crazy things. So
I've broken my hand and shit a few times, but it's more of a, just like your legs, my hands are like my arms and my legs. And if something happens, I take care of it and I'm back to normal. You know, but I would definitely say that I do take care of myself and I put the right nutrients in my body to make the injury more likely, a lot less. Or injury a lot less likely. Right.
Is there any recovery protocols that you use to sort of get back and improve your performance? Because was it someone thought you was on? Again, I might be getting this wrong, but someone thought you was on some sort of performance-enhancing drugs.
Oh yeah, that was the track and field stuff. Because I went from being nobody that knew a thing about the sport to being number 1 in the entire state of Ohio, and I was number 2 in the country, the fastest guy on the Eastern Seaboard at 18 years old with 2 months of training. So they thought I was on steroids. Yeah, I almost didn't get to compete in the state championships. Turned out I was clean. And I just was just dominating shit. So, that was a fun time, man.
That's pretty cool that you can, I suppose, go through that, and then it's like, right, okay, now.
It's like, listen, bro, like, I'm sorry that everybody else isn't as fast as me. And I know it sounds cocky saying that, but like, at the end of the day, if you're number one and you're literally beating everybody else, why are you getting so salty about you not winning? Why don't you push yourself harder? You know? And then I went from being the number one guy in Ohio to being professionally ranked number 2 guy in the country, which I'm currently still ranked number 2 in the 100 meter for national rankings. I'm ranked 27th in the world for world rankings. So it's real, like, just to be on that level, because those rankings, those are real rankings, because it's your speed. Yeah. It's like, who's faster? And it's right next to, if you're not that fast, you're not going to be up there. It's a lot of work that was put into that. I used to pull a truck tire, dude, around the track for 2 miles every day. I would attach a sled to my racing chair, and it's put a chain from the chair to the sled, and then put a giant tire on it. And then I would push, like, for miles. And then, like, in between those days, my coach would drive his Jeep up onto the track and make me keep up with his Jeep. Like, really, like some harsh training. But, like, that's what I needed. And I asked him to do it. You know, so. And at the end, it all worked out. I remember when I won my first state title, it was the 400 meter. When I won that first title, oh, dude, I completely shattered the record. It was ridiculous. And the crowd was going crazy. I was having the time of my life. And then I won it again in the 100, and then took second in shot put, and then took third in the 800. So that was definitely a weekend. And it was actually hard because I had gotten college offers for track and field at all these D1 schools, but then I was also getting college offers for wrestling, but they were at none of the schools that were offering me for track. So I was like, shit, what do I do? You know, so I had to really figure it out. And so I completely skipped college for track and field because I also got approached to become a pro. So then I was like, shit, I'm going to just wrestle in college and be a professional track and field athlete. So that's what I've been doing. Yeah.
Was that a tough decision?
At the end of the day, no, because like even though I had a ton of success in track and field, like since I had a ton of success in track and field, it was a no-brainer for me to choose wrestling.
Why is that?
It's a no-brainer for wrestling because I've been in the sport way longer, and I've struggled way harder. And I was having a lot of success. So, like, if I'm going to, just think about it. Would you choose something, like, if you had the option to choose something that you've worked your entire life for, and now you have the option to, sitting right in front of you, to go to the next level for it, but then you get an offer for something else. Are you going to take that something else, or are you going to take the thing that you've actually been striving for?
Right.
Dude, I did track and field off of a whim because I watched my sister win a state title the year before. So I was like, it seems like a fun thing to do. Next thing you know, I'm winning titles like my older sister.
But that's an interesting question. Like, how do you also know maybe hypothetically you could have more talent of being number one in the world at track and field? You know, go on to be if you chose to do one of those things.
No, I mean I've wrestled against Olympians. I've won. It's not out of reach for either of them, like at all. If anything, it's closer.
So what is it that what do you feel is driving you? Like, you've got incredible drive.
I like what I do.
You do it just for fun?
Not just for fun. I have my ways I make a living fighting, actually fighting and stuff like that. But I'm probably one of those few people that I'm excited for sparring day in the cage, even though you might get the shit beat out of you. I get excited for days like that because like that to me, that's having fun. Like, that's having fun. I'm told I'm extremely high energy. So when I'm chill, like I try to be as chill as possible, but I'm told I have extremely high energy, and so I put it to good use by fighting, by track and field. That drains your energy. It's like every time I do a 100-meter, I completely empty the tank. Like 100-meter, I'll be breathing hard because I put like my soul into it.
But that's, most people are like, okay, I'm going to give it 90, maybe 95, but most people are like, that's enough.
Nah, like, I be going until, like, my body gives out. And, like, that's because, like, I've been in those situations where you're tired like that, but you have to keep going. Like, so, I remember I was wrestling this one dude. It was at the district. No, what was it? No, it was in college. It was the first place match for the regional championships for me to go to nationals. I ended up losing that. I ended up getting second place at regionals. But this guy, we're just battling it out. It's 1-0. He's winning by 1 point, and it's the third period. So we've spent like 8 minutes wrestling each other with nobody scoring. So we're tired. Yeah, it was such a brutal match. We get in overtime, nobody scores. We go in first overtime, nobody scores. Go in the second overtime, and we go third overtime. The second and third, nobody scores. Then there's a sudden death. That's a minute you get to be out there. One final minute, bro. I couldn't feel my hands, and you're just sitting there. You're sitting there grabbing. And you're grappling, you're trying to take shots, you're trying to cut an angle, you're trying to do everything you can because you don't want to be the guy, you don't want to be sitting in second place, you want to be in first place. And I couldn't take him down. He ended up winning 1-0.
So what did you take away from that then?
Score the first point next time.
You don't let it go on that long.
Yeah, like if it's gonna be like that, score the first point next time. Seriously though, be the first one to score. And then if you can't take him down, he can't take you down the rest of the one, so be it. You win.
But that comment I made earlier, like about, people who give up at 95 and they're like, okay, I've done it. Do you think that when you get into those situations, if you're always doing like 100% regardless of whether you have to or not, do you think that starts to train your mind so that it's just...
It's not even that. It's like, what times do you use 100%? Like wrestling. Like, what times do you apply 100% pressure, and what times do you apply 50%? What times do you just like apply a little bit of pressure to see how they're gonna react? You know what I mean? That's actual control, knowing how much force and like pressure to apply at certain key moments. Like fighting, if I see that your jaw's open, I'm cranking it up to 100. But if I'm taking you down and I'm trying to just like keep a steady base on top, I'm not gonna be like trying to like go crazy, because then that gives me more chance of error to mess up. And then you could flip the script, be on top of me, ground and pounding me. And I don't want that. So you gotta play it smart. But then if I see your face open again, back up to 100. Your body open, that's always 100. Do
you think those lessons apply to your business career? From what
business, my business and all the stuff I do, it's 100% all the time. I built up a whole team that I'm proud to say I work with very closely, and we've been getting stuff done.
Tell us about your business.
On a whole new level. Well, business, it's from I'm an actor, I'm an author.
You got three book deals or something, is that right?
Yeah, a huge book deal. I actually just finished the second book recently, like 4 days ago. Got all the picture rights and all the other stuff. The headache part of it done. But that's part of my stuff. I work with a lot of these brands. I've combined my No Excuses brand, which is this lightning bolt Z I have on my neck. That's my logo. And I partnered it with Legends, which is who I'm wearing right now in the shorts. It says it somewhere. But Legends right here. So now I work closely with like Scott Hoshosh, that's the owner. Then like Quavo, Steve Nash, Snoop Dogg, a lot of these big upwigs. I mean, we're deciding getting ready to have a whole new drop, which kind of gives me like I can't even say it, but like, we're gonna have a new drop coming soon that's gonna be really fresh, and I'm really excited for it.
Do you have to balance, like now sounds like you've got some great business opportunities. Do you also have to sort of balance what you're doing from an athlete's perspective with that? And do you sort of, does that take a lot of energy to keep both? And or is that the next?
I mean, I just keep it going. You know, that's why I have a team. When I can't always be there, like for instance, Craig left because he's going to a meeting that I can't be at. But I'm doing this right now. So I'm killing two things at one time. Then he's going to another meeting because I have to go train. So we're getting a lot of things done today. Even though like I might do 2 or 3 things, because like you got to think you only have 24 hours in a day. You're only awake probably 12 of them, 12 to 13 of them. You know, so it's you gotta get what you can get done, and the bigger the network you have, the more you can get done.
How much do you see as your role as a business owner to try and impart that belief, no limits, you can do anything attitude on the rest of your people because I guess, like you say, you know, when you get to a certain size,
you gotta lead by example. So I don't always necessarily have to tell you to like be like that. Me bringing you on and then showing you my vision and then watching me actively go out and execute it, that should be enough. Because I shouldn't have to say any words. You should see what I'm doing and be like, okay. And if you have questions about it, that's because you're interested. And then we can talk. You know what I mean?
How do you go about?
I keep very close contact with all my people. I have people all around the world and all around the country that are part of my system. How
do you go about choosing the right people to bring into your team?
I'm gonna give it to you straight. I give them like a trial run. I don't trust people. I really don't. So it's if you're gonna work closely with me and like be around me, my people, my friends, and my money, you gotta have a straight head on your shoulders.
How long does it take you to sort of warm to someone and to
give you like not warm up to them, but so my thing is my stuff moves at a kind of a quick, fast pace. Like if I get a speaking event, like if say there's a place that wants me to speak, I have that set up within a month, like or less. So I'll give the new people that I bring on, we'll give them a month to 2 months to see what like they can actually make happen. And if we really like what you do, we'll bring you on. Because I didn't used to do that, and I got screwed in Rhode Island, and we're not going to talk about that.
So what is a measure for you of success? Like whether that's physical, mental, fulfillment. Like how do you?
I could. No, it's crazy. I could give. Like I couldn't really care about like having the success. You know, I'd rather be happy than have success. As long as I'm content and happy with who I am and what I'm doing, I don't care how successful I could become or I am now or how successful I wasn't. At some point, I became happy, and that's how I've been.
And what does happiness mean to you?
You accept the things that go on around you. You don't you keep the things that are supposed to be minuscule. You know.
And you ignore the rest.
Pretty much.
Do you set goals?
I do. But like, what do you mean by goals? As in what?
So we talked about this Olympic which I guess is, you could define that as a goal that you want to go there one day. Do you have other things on a regular basis, like which you set that you want to do, and do you have a process for goal setting that works for you?
I mean, I don't write stuff down, like, at all. And I don't put stuff on a calendar, like a private calendar, or write notes. I know exactly what I want in life, and I know what I want to do. So with that being said, I want to be a speaker. I want to be an author. I want to be an actor. And currently, I'm a speaker. I'm an author. I'm an actor. And I'm a pro athlete. And I'm about to be I'm practically a multi-sport pro athlete. So with that being said, you gotta just know what you want, and then it's up to you to decide what you're gonna do to actively pursue those goals.
And is there a difference between where maybe you want to get to and where you are? Or, because this is something I talk about a lot, but it's like, okay, you either, are you happy where you are and you're content but driven?
Okay,
or
yeah.
are you waiting to become somewhere that you're not?
Yeah, so I'm happy, but I'm not comfortable. If that makes sense. Never get too comfortable. That's just like, if you get comfortable, you start slacking. Don't get comfortable.
So it's just that's to keep that fire going, would you say then?
Yep. And that's goes for what you do and the people around you. Don't get too comfortable wherever you're at in life. Always be looking to progress.
How do you think about failure, or what does failure mean, or is that in your vocabulary at all?
I mean, it's a learning moment. You need failure. You need loss. You need defeats. Because the person that's never failed is most likely never to get up if they do fail one time. But if you failed multiple times and then success follows, you have more of an appreciation for if you do happen to fail again, because that you can raise yourself back up. It's better to learn from failure than to never have failure. When you have failure, do you, I guess it's difficult to say you feel good about it, but I suppose going in and wrestling and are you quick to get over those type of situations? And it's like, okay, that's just the next step. I just look at why I got messed up, and why I lost, and why I couldn't move in certain positions, like the simple placements, because that's what caused me to lose, because I was in bad positioning. So, like I said, failures, you learn from it.
Is that something you go through, whether it's in life or business? Do you go through that and talk that through with a team of people, or do you just have the time on your own where you figure it out yourself?
Oh yeah, I don't need a group, a team of people to talk to about how I feel on the inside of my head. I brought the people together. If anything, I would want them to come talk to me if they needed advice on anything. Because when it comes to everything that goes down, there's me and Craig, and there's everybody else. You know what I mean? And if I do have a problem with something, I talk to Craig.
So he's your sort of you're the person you sort of chew over those thoughts and rationalize.
Yeah. Because one, I don't want everybody knowing my business.
No.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So then two, just one, I don't want everybody knowing my business.
What kind of influence did Kyle Maynard have on you?
I liked his book. Definitely was inspirational. It's not why I got the tattoo. I actually forgot about the book until after I got the tattoo. Because it was a long. I remember I read that book when I was 6 years old.
6.
I read that book when I first started wrestling. It was gifted to me in my first year of wrestling, and I still have that book, the same book.
Did it have a big impact on you when you?
I mean, it was kind of. I was 6 years old. I couldn't read most of it. There's a lot of things I did not understand at the time, and but I did understand the wrestling part of it, and how he had to struggle. But he did not have I don't have inspirations. Where I'm from, and like the area where I live, not just what I went through in the houses, but what's going on outside the houses. I'm from the hood, bro. You feel like somebody would probably kill you for your shoes, just because like it's really that bad out there. Canton, Ohio is known as one of the most dangerous small cities in the country, and that's where I'm from. And it's I've been one of my biggest things on why I'm out here and why I'm working is to get my family out of there. Get my sisters, my mom, like my grandparents, all them out. That's me. That's where I'm from.
And outside of what you've said, then, like, are there any other goals that you're going after, like getting your family out of there? That sounds like a pretty cool goal.
That's a real goal that I'm getting very close to. Just a couple of years ago, I was able to get my mom a car, like a very nice car.
What'd you get her?
She still fosters kids, so I got her at the time. I got her a 2021 Chevy Traverse.
Very nice.
Yeah, it had like this satellite view on the front rear view mirror. Yeah, a sick car. I kind of wanted it myself, honestly. But but like I've been like making real efforts to take care of my family, and because like that car, I didn't just get it because it's a nice car, but like it's a big roomy car. So with my mom fostering all these kids still, she could have more room to move them around, you know.
How much of an impact did your foster mother have on?
Oh, that's just my mom. She's not my foster mother.
Oh, okay.
Like I have her same last name.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's my mother. But she had a big impact on me. Definitely made it so I could never quit.
She made it so you could never quit.
Yeah.
Really?
I remember out of high school, I tried to quit track and field because I was frustrated. And she like shut everything down until I went back to track and field.
What do you mean shut everything down?
Like made it so like my friends' parents would not let me hang with my friends. Yeah, so I'd have to sneak out and hang out with my friends. And then she caught me doing that too. So then I was like, all right, I'll go back to track and field.
So you didn't have a lot of choice.
Nah, but like my mom was raised in Alabama. You know, like Southern Alabama. So like that's like my family is a real Southern. It's kind of like a Southern gangster family.
What's that? I've never been there, but what's that kind of?
Alabama is a lot of wooded area.
Wood.
Yeah, just woods. And like my family, they all live on like most of my family live in one neighborhood back home. Like they built their own neighborhood.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I have a really big family. And I'm not the only professional athlete.
So you got a family history of it.
Yeah.
So Zion, I'm going to ask the last question now. Escape Your Limits is about escaping what you've believed is impossible and made it possible. What would be the most memorable example of escaping your own personal limits?
I would say becoming an All-American when I had, so my freshman year of college, made it to the national championships, and then I dislocated my left rib. Yeah, like after the first match. Yeah, it was pretty bad. Like you never like felt like that type of pain where like you can't think. Dude, it was like my whole left side of my body was on fire. And all they did was just like put some athletic tape and like compressed my ribs. So like the dislocated rib couldn't move around. And then I wrestled for 2 days.
2 days?
Yeah. And then was out like the first half of the next season until my ribs healed. Like that shit took me out almost a whole year. But like it was like one of those moments where you push through. That's one of those moments. Because like anytime somebody came up under you, like they knew your ribs were hurt. They saw the bandages. So like when you're at the NCAAs, man, and they see that, they're like, oh, and they're like, I'm gonna get that spot right there. So I was like putting a target on yourself. But like you had to do that because if you didn't, you'd risk more injury without having a bandage. So it was kind of a lose-lose situation. But I made it happen, and I'm finishing third place at the national championships. And yeah. made something of it.
Did you consider not going on when that happened? Was there?
Nah, because I was pissed. I was like, if anything, I was more pissed off like than I was like in pain. Because like I knew I was hurt and I knew it was gonna slow me down. So I was more mad about that rather than the fact that like, hey, maybe I should sit down and like go see a doctor or something. No, that's like the last thing. And my ear exploded. My left ear exploded. I got cauliflower ear. So I had my ear drained in the middle of a match. So like my head hurt, my ribs hurt, my hands hurt. I had already completely destroyed my thumbs. So my hands were like double taped. So like I was a mess going through the national championships my first time. But like that was my first time going against like real, like everybody was gunning to be the champ there. And that was, it's such an electrical feeling. That's why I didn't want to stop. I was like, I'm not going to be the guy that like got there and then goes home because I got hurt, bro. No, like I'm sorry, but that's not what's about to happen.
They're gonna have to stretch you out if you were going out.
Yeah, and I could stand back up. So if I can stand back up, I'm gonna keep going. If I can't walk anymore, that's a different story. But I'm still walking. If I can walk, I can wrestle.
Fantastic. Well, Zion, I'm not gonna piss you off. That's for sure.
Are you sure you don't want to wrestle or fight? No.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
No problem.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, then please go over to iTunes and subscribe to the Escape Your Limits podcast. Leave a review, leave a comment. It really would help us a lot to continue to keep these going.